is up, guys? First of all, hope you've had a great start to the year. Today's video, I wanted to cover an in-depth look at the Ronin 4D and how it's become a game-changing filming device for all of the nature-related filming work that I do here in Iceland and in the Arctic. It really has changed the way that I think about cinematography, and I think it's a highly underrated camera. Before I jump into all these points, I want to cover the version of the Ronin 4D that I have, which is the 6K variant. It matches perfectly with my Inspire 2 Cinema DNG footage, which also comes out at 6K, and with the Red Dragon footage if I ever needed to blend that. It is a dual native ISO to make this camera much more useful in varied light and environments. It's especially useful here in Iceland, where in the winter we have almost no light, so it means that I can still head out regardless of the time of year and rely on that dual native ISO to get clean and amazing imagery. The camera itself has built-in NDs and it has such a vast range of coverage. I know there are other cinema rigs with this as well, and I just don't think I could go back. For the work that I've done, I've used the standard DJI lens package from 24, 35 and up to 50 millimeters. And this has been sufficient for every type of shot that I've done of nature, where really there's less focus on lens character as you would get with a film about a person, or in instances where you want to portrait something. This is more so getting a sharp shot of nature, removing all sense of camera shake and any element that draws you out of being immersed in the scene. So for me, those tiny little lenses, which of course give the optimal performance of the camera, they're covered in carbon fiber, extremely lightweight. Those lenses have enabled me to get beautiful sharp shots, and they even have a nice depth of field. It's kind of remarkable for how small of a lens it is. The first thing is the size, the portability of this device. For me, the last few years have been mostly consumed with filming with a Ronin 2 and Red Dragon setup, and with that comes the easy rig and all of the technology that I need to take with me in order to get an extremely stable shot of nature. And all that is packed down into such a small size with the Ronin 4D. And being able to pack it into a carry-on size Pelly case and take it with me everywhere that I go, even in the Zodiacs, the small boats that I go out on when I'm photographing and shooting wildlife, it really is possible now for me to get perfectly stable footage in every environment that I go without the stress of taking all of this big gear with me. The second thing that I find really nice about this camera setup is the vertical stabilization. One of the first requirements going into natural history filmmaking for getting ground angles was that I used this Flow Cine vertical stabilizer on the Easy Rig setup. And it is great, but I never really was able to fully dial in that setup and get rid of all the vertical shake. I'm often walking on uneven ground here in Iceland, and it is really hard to do it. And I think that with the standard so high, especially in this type of cinematography work, it really is essential to get rid of all distraction, because you want the viewer to hone in on exactly what your subject is and not think about anything camera related. So by removing all sense of shake, you're really able to put the viewer in the scene and immerse them in the environment that you're capturing. I really love that the handles on the Ronin 4D have all the controls built in, and that has been essential in me being fast and being able to adapt quickly when I'm in an environment that things are changing around me and I need to ensure the shot happens right in that moment. You have the focus itself right there on your thumb. I like to use manual focus most of the time, but this does also support the LiDAR autofocus system. And for me, filming nature, often I can decide better than the camera what to focus on, and if I'm not filming wildlife, then I can be kind of slower and calculate my focus a lot better. So I've had good experience using manual focus with often peaking on, and I really like that you can control the focus peaking whether you want it on or off by a simple button on the handle itself. Some of the main things that I love and why I wanted to make this video is to share how my journey of natural history filmmaking has developed from this massive equipment down into this small handheld device. What makes it such a useful piece of technology is having the vertical stabilization mixed with the ability to do parallax shots, and you can change all the sensitivities of the gimbal to allow different types of moves. But for me, I always like to slow the gimbal's functionality down to almost the slower setting, allowing me to move around objects and counter the move to get this beautiful parallax. And I could never really achieve that with the bigger Ronin 2 setup that I used in the Red, just because when you're wearing such a bulky rig, you're thinking of so many other things in the moment to get these types of parallax shots to work how your mind is foreseeing them. In the 4D, it's so effortless to get these shots, especially with the 50mm lens, which if you're using longer focal lengths on the Ronin 2 Easy Rig setup, it is so hard to get this to work as your mind wants. And for me, I'm quite a visual person, and often I've pre-planned the shot exactly how I want it. And it's taken a lot of repeated runs with the bigger setup to get those shots to work. So the ability to just get it in one go and not strain your body in the same way with this massive rig, it's just epic. So that is why it has become such a useful tool for me. Another reason that has been incredibly cool to use for me is that you open up the ability to do tracking shots in any environment. And by that, I mean, imagine having a 30-meter long slider that you can just cart around to any place you go, no matter how rough the landscape is, and get slider shots to reveal open scenes, go from, for example, behind a rock to reveal a landscape beyond. And those types of moves, I can get what would otherwise take maybe 10 to 15 minutes to set the slider up, get it at the right height, check the shot, bring the camera, and so on. I can just walk around and do the same move on 20 different rocks to do the same reveal and get the best one in the same time it takes to set up the slider on one other scene. With the Ronin 4D only being able to support a set of lenses up to a certain weight means that basically all long focal lengths are off limits. And I know that is a huge turnoff for natural history filmmaking, especially with the presence of wildlife, where maybe you're even up to 1,500mm in focal length. But I think where this could fit into the industry is for a B cam, where you might have a GSS or Cineflex setup, roaming with the wildlife, getting those close-up angles of the scene unfolding, and then you could have a second operator in the back with the Ronin 4D, getting wide shots of all the action going down. And I think because you're using wider focal lengths, you have less concern about these intricate small movements, and it is just so user-friendly. I think it is a very useful tool in this industry moving forward.